Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Murder Corner, where I grease myself up and wriggle through the cornfields. And also, there's some art here as well. Uh, Today, I'm going to go through like the second half of kind of my childhood story. If you missed the first half, you can go back and watch the previous video, and that'll kind of get you caught up to where we are now. But uh, when we last left off, my great grandmother had just passed away. She had raised me, so I moved back in with my mom. Uh, and my mom, like I said, struggled with addiction. And I had forgotten to mention that when I moved in with my mom, my sister was actually pregnant. And my sister is only a couple years older than me. So I was 12, she was 14 when she had her first kid. And I don't want to get too much into her business, but the baby daddy was just a loser, and he has not been in my niece's life at all, which is probably a good thing. And this happened in Oklahoma. Then they moved to New Mexico, and that's when I moved in with them. So when I moved in, it was me, my sister. She had the baby a little bit after I moved in, I believe. So it was also my niece, and then my mom, my stepdad, and my uncle. And my uncle is not a very good guy. I don't have him in my life at all. He was kind of a bum. He was also very homophobic. And just in general, he was never like a good person. And I don't subscribe to the thought that, like, just because somebody's family, you have to forgive them. Like, if somebody's awful and toxic, you shouldn't let them in your life. I don't think it matters if they're related to you. So I've never really, like, let him back into my life. But anyway, my parents were struggling with addiction. So a lot of the times it was just like me and my sister with this kid. My mom helped a lot. Like, my mom's a very good person. She just happened to have addictions, and a lot of people struggle with them. My stepdad was not a good person, and they're no longer together, but they stayed together for like all of my childhood. And she finally got away from him, and she like sees him occasionally, and he's still like never got his life together. He's also not a good person, and he was also abusive. It went both ways. My mom hit him as well, but he was a mechanic. He worked physically, so he was a lot stronger than her. So for the most part, he would get the better of her. I do remember coming home from school one day, and uh, his face was all busted open and bloody because she had grabbed a BB gun and hit him with the butt of it, and then went to the neighbors. And if you're thinking like, why didn't you call the cops? Like, why didn't you just like get this guy arrested? We did several times. Like, anybody who's been in an abusive situation will tell you that the cops aren't going to do anything. They'll take them away usually. A lot of the times they'll just make them leave for the day. And I mean, there's nothing really stopping them from coming back. The cops just told them, you have to leave. So even if they took him to jail, he was usually in there for a day. Sometimes he'd be in there a little bit longer, but he would usually get out like within a month. And also, I was going to this new school that was in like a much bigger city and a much more dangerous city. Albuquerque has a really high crime rate, and we were like right in the middle of the ghetto. So I, this weird little country kid, did not get along well with a lot of kids here. So it was like a very difficult transition. And then I was dealing with like my parents abusing each other at home. And uh, eventually we moved around a little bit, but we were always in the same area. And eventually we lost the apartment. My stepdad couldn't hold a job. He kept doing like dumb stuff to get fired. He would like steal tools and stuff. My mom did like server jobs and things like that, and she was never reliable either. So she ended up getting fired from her jobs. So eventually, we had to move into a hotel, and my sister actually went to go stay with my grandparents. My dad doesn't claim me as his. He thinks that my mom cheated on him and had me, but he claims my sister. So I never got to be a part of that side of the family. And like I look just like my dad, so it's pretty obvious that I'm his, but it's like whatever. So we stayed at one hotel in particular for quite a while, but there was like a falling out. I remember my stepdad got in like a big altercation with some other guys that were like drug dealers, and we ended up getting kicked out of there. And we bounced around between like a few of them. I remember we like stayed in a shelter for a bit. Um, we were kind of like all over the place. But after that, I moved in with my uncle, not the one that sucks. I have a good uncle as well, and he's awesome, and like I still love him. But I stayed with them for a little bit, but I was like kind of a burden on them. And then one day they caught me smoking weed, and they got like really mad at me too. So eventually, I left there and went back with my mom, and I don't remember the exact sequence of events. I drank a lot when I was younger, and I smoked a lot of weed, and I hit my head a few times really hard while I was skateboarding. So, like, my memory's not super great. But at some point, between all of this chaos, my mom managed to, like, get into this apartment in a really sketchy apartment because we were the only ones there. And these people across the way started like trying to hang out with my mom, and eventually they got my mom to do other kind of addictive substances with them, and it became a very bad place to be. So I moved in with my aunt, who is actually my cousin. She's not actually my mom's sister, she's her cousin, but they were like as close as sisters. And see, I'm leaving out whole big chunks because like I was raised with her three sons and one daughter, and those were my cousins that we were really close with like throughout most of my childhood. But they haven't been super important to the story, so I didn't mention them. But like they were very close with us. We saw them like almost every day. Um, so yeah, I moved in with her and her husband and my other uncle that sucked because he was mooching off them at this point. And I remember me and my older cousin, we would go work construction with my uncle who sucked. And we would not get paid like ever. Sometimes we would get $20. And we were doing like construction work. We were sitting out in the sun and we were like digging ditches and stuff for them while they went off and like went and got drugs. Like and we would do like intense labor and be exhausted, and then they would like promise that they would pay us one day, and then it just like never came. Occasionally they would throw us $20 or something. But yeah, so at some point my mom had fallen badly into addiction at this point, and turns out that the people renting the apartment to her didn't actually own the apartment. So there's a reason why she was the only one in this apartment complex, is because they just had a key to uh, this one apartment. So when the cops found out, we got evicted, and they, we couldn't do much about it. So we had to put everything we had into my stepdad's truck and just like take what we could on our backs. Like I literally just had like a backpack full of clothes and like just stuff to survive. And eventually that truck got towed and we didn't have any money, so we couldn't get it out. So we literally just like lost everything that we owned, and we had to completely start over with just the actual clothes on our back. But around this time, my sister had gotten an apartment with her new boyfriend, and she was actually pregnant again. So I ended up moving in with them, and I just kind of helped them with the kids. And I remember it was a one bedroom, so I slept in their closet because it was a pretty big closet. So it was like my own little room that I would just go sleep in there. I put a little mattress in. I don't even know if I had a mattress actually. A lot of the times I didn't have a mattress. Actually, one hotel we stayed in, it was me, my mom, my stepdad, one of my cousins, and then my aunt and uncle. So we had six people in a single hotel room with two beds, and then there was a couple of cats there too. And I would just sleep on the floor. So like I would come home from school and I couldn't do anything. The neighborhood sucked. I didn't want to go outside, so I would just lay there and just like watch TV until I fell asleep. So yeah, like it was rough. But yeah, eventually my sister's boyfriend went to jail. He had stolen some stuff in Arizona, so he got extradited. So for like 2 years, it was just me and my sister, and she would go to work, and I would stay and I would raise the kids. So we're coming up on the end of this video, so I'm just gonna kind of like do a quick little end of like, yeah, I helped her raise the kids. Eventually, she went back with her boyfriend in Arizona. Uh, a lot of stuff happened, but I couldn't stay with them, so I ended up coming back to New Mexico. I got a job. I got my first apartment. I screwed it up. Like, I don't know. From there, I kind of grew into adulthood, but that's like the gist of it is like we were homeless. We were very unstable. By the time I had moved back in with my sister, I had dropped out of high school because like I was homeless half the time, and it's really tough to fit in with teenagers as it is. But when you're a gay homeless kid, it's really, really hard. So, yeah, that's kind of the story of my childhood. And there's a lot I'm missing, but this video can only be so long, and the speed draw is coming to an end. So I'm just going to end it. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Love you guys. Bye.